So for this meeting, our intended learning outcome for this discussion are this. At the end of the discussion, the students will be able to, number one, state the principal categories of fund source. Number two, explain the different types of design standards. Number three, explain the importance of site inspection and site survey. And lastly, explain the importance of physical testing and the different methods to conduct it. So, as you have seen before, our lesson for today will revolve around Project Inception. So before we go on or before we move on to the actual design, planning, and construction of bridges or bridge structures, it's worth it to know first how how these bridges are actually conceived. It's worthy to know first how these projects are actually started. So in order for us to achieve that goal, in order for us to have a knowledge how projects like bridge structures are being started, how they are being conceived, we will try to discuss these intended learning outcomes for this discussion. We will try to uh, familiarize ourselves with the principal categories of fund source, and then we will try to familiarize ourselves as well to the different types of design standards used in the design and planning of bridge structures, as well as let's also have a basic knowledge on the importance of site inspection and site survey before actually starting to design, plan, and construct a bridge. And lastly, let us also uh, know the importance of physical testing and the different methods to conduct it. So these are our goals for this discussion. So without further ado, let us address our first goal, which is for you to be able to state the principal categories of fund source. In any project, especially bridge structure projects, before the planning and design as well as the construction starts, there is this stage that is what we call the project inception, wherein the whole project is being conceptualized by the whole team of that certain project. And before the start of this design, the planning and the construction, there are several important issues that concern the bridge engineer prior to commencement of design. Before any design can begin, there is the issue concerning how bridge projects are selected and funded. Then there is the issue that pertains to the standards and references that an engineer utilizes during design. Finally, when design begins in earnest, an engineer must determine the types of field data, and in the case of a rehabilitation project, record data are required to commence and eventually complete the work. So before the construction, or should I say before the design, planning, and the construction of any project, especially a bridge structure, commences, again, just like what I've said, there is this stage, which is what we call the project inception, wherein the whole project is being conceptualized and the important issues are being addressed first before the start of the actual planning and design. So these issues are usually uh, with respect to the fund or the sources of fund that the team the team of that particular project will will uh, will be using to fund the whole project. So that's an important issue that must be addressed first before the start of any project. especially a bridge structure project. We have to specify first, we have to know first what will be the source of fund in order for us to provide the needs of our project so that we can realize, we can put into realization the project that we are conceptualizing. So there are actually different sources of fund that we usually use to provide the needs, the monetary needs of a certain project. And then another issue that the design team, or should I say that the whole team of a project, uh, needs to address is what standard or what standards and references that they have to use or utilize during the design of the particular project. So there are different standards and references that we have that we are using in the industry. And actually, these standards and references are usually varies from region to region or from project to project. So with that problem, with that issue, the design that the whole team must address first what particular standard or references that they will have to refer in order to design the whole project properly. And then lastly, uh, the types of field data that the team must collect first is also an issue before the commencement of the design, because the design cannot commence, the design cannot start if there are no sufficient field data that are gathered. And this field data from the term itself are usually gathered or collected from the highway bridge site itself. So that issue must be addressed first before the whole design process, the whole design phase can start. As well as if for the case of a rehabilitation project, there must be a record data that must be gathered first to aid the rehabilitation design of the project. So when we say record data, these are usually a record or a record of the history of a certain project that needs to be rehabilitated. And this record data can help to the design of that rehabilitation project. So all in all, before any design in any plan or any construction can commence, this stage, which is what we call the project inception, must be addressed first. The issues regarding the funds, the standards and references, and the field data must be addressed first before the design can commence.